Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior. For this video, I want to talk to those of you that are college students or that are in high school and are planning to go to college, or maybe you've been out of college for a minute and you're deciding to come back, and this time you would like to go to Japan. So I get asked a lot, in particular on Instagram, questions in regards to going to school here. And I see a lot of mistakes that I think a lot of you guys are making. So I want to kind of, reiterate or talk about some things that I've already spoken about, but maybe phrase in a different way and maybe go into more detail. So what I really want to stress out in this video, I'll make multiple parts to finish everything that I want to say. But I do not recommend blindly going to Japan. And it seems like so many of you guys are basically doing that. I think a lot of you have in your mind, okay, I want to go to Japan. I like Japanese skies, I like anime, I like Japanese fashion, I want to be a model. Let's go to Japan as a student because it's the easiest way to get a visa, right? Well, yes and no. And I want to explain why that's a really bad idea, to just say I want to go to Japan and say I'm going to go there next year in the spring. Horrible idea. The reason being is you need to do so much more planning than that. And to be totally honest, if you're coming to me and trying to get advice, that already says to me that you're not going to come here next year. Just being totally real with you. And not to be a Debbie Downer or talk down on your dreams. I'm trying to help you prepare to make that dream actually happen and take place. You need to do a ton of research, like a ton. I can tell you firsthand from personal experience, it is by the grace of God that I am still here in Japan right now, because I have been through so much stuff, as you can watch on my own vlogs, as well as things that I will probably never make videos on because it was just that bad. But I cannot explain how I managed to stay in Japan. I have done everything wrong. So I've been there, done that. My life in Japan has not been all cupcakes and rainbows. And it's not just a matter of me not liking a job that I had, or even getting fired from one. My academic career was garbage when I first started out here. I did not come to Japan with enough money. I did not come with enough anything. I did not plan properly. I thought that I did because I wanted to go to Japan for years, but I did not. And I think a lot of you girls and guys are making the same mistake that I made, and I don't want you to do that. I was lucky, and I had friends and family that were able to help me get myself out of that situation, to make it all possible to allow me to graduate and to continue working and to still continue going to school. But in actuality, it didn't happen right away. I literally spent moments in Japan where I was practically homeless. It was extremely embarrassing, and how can I say? I don't want any of you to ever have to go through that, because just as I said with that batch house that I stayed at, that was not the only one. I've stayed at places that ended up, going bankrupt and closing. I've had all kind of crazy situations happen, and you never know what's going to happen. And that brings me to my biggest thing. You all do not have enough money. Everyone wants to come to Japan. They think it's all fun and games, but it's like Japan is not free. And I don't mean it in the sense that everyone's like, oh, Japan is so expensive. To be totally honest, if you're from the US, Japan is cheap, but it's expensive when you're a student because you don't have money like that. You're spending a lot more on your tuition than your actual living costs are. So to be totally honest, to make long story short, and I'll have a blog post that'll go into more detail on what I really want to talk about, which I highly recommend you check out the description in the comments, because I will have it listed, in both places in the description box, and I'll have it probably pinned as the top comment. You need $10,000 at least cash, 10K, nothing less. I would not come here with a dime less than that, and $10,000 gives you just a little bit over $1,500 per month, which will cover all of your expenses, your transportation, your food, your rent, all of that in Tokyo, since that's where everyone wants to stay. To be totally honest, you really need more than that, but that is the bare minimum that you need in order to survive in Japan. And that's with you cutting back on everything, because Tokyo is more expensive than the other cities. But again, if you're from America, like a major city, that's nothing. My rent in Chicago was $1,500 by itself, without including my bills or anything. In Japan, $1,500 is everything, all you need, and then some. In order for you to even have that kind of money where you just have $10,000 saved up, you obviously need at least one, if not 2 to 3 different jobs. So if you're not already on your grind right now, how do you think that you're going to actually make it in college in Japan? How is that going to work out for you? Do your parents have money? Are they going to pay for all of your expenses here? And if that's the case, great, then you've got it. But if you're like a lot of people that tend to ask me questions that are from a similar background as myself, and you did not grow up and you weren't born, with a family that had money and just paid for everything for you, and no, hate or whatever, no shade, I wish I was you. But unless you're that kind of person, and if that's the case, you probably aren't going to ever find this video or search for someone like me, or even, keywords that'll bring you to my video, because you don't need help. Your parents have the money to send you to Japan. But if that's the case and you don't have money and you're looking for ways and you're looking for advice, you are making a huge mistake if you don't already have this money saved up. Because if you think your life is hard and problematic in your home country, imagine how much worse it's going to be going somewhere where you don't know the language, you aren't a native there, and you're there on a visa that can be taken away from you pretty much at any time. Huge mistake. You are going to get tired of Japan very quickly. It will get old very fast. You're going to be fascinated by everything, and then eventually it's going to feel just like how you do in your hometown. Think of have you ever been to New York before? Maybe you're from there. It's nice, but if you actually live in New York, Times Square is literally just a stupid little box of nothing. It's lights to look at for 2 seconds. Oh, nice, take a selfie, done. You get tired of it. It's old, it's boring. You don't really feel like having to go through there because it's nothing but tourists. It's aggravating. Well, that's how I feel about Japan now. I loved Tokyo when I first came there. And I'm not trying to take away from it because I want you to experience it too. But I also want to tell you that because this is going to get old and because, you're going to feel this way, you have to consider, do you really want to be homeless here? Do you really want to waste all of your money and end up in debt for years and years to come just to experience being in Japan? That is beyond stupid. You might as well just wait until you graduate from college in your own home country if you really cannot afford it and you're not disciplined enough to save money to get here. However, if you can discipline yourself and save up at least $10,000, it doesn't just stop there. You have to actually ration that money and make sure that you're only spending no more than about $1,500 to $1,600 a month, which unfortunately means settling for being at a share house. A lot of you guys message me and you're trying to look for apartments that allow pets and that have carpet, and it's like, what? Did you forget this is Japan and not America? We're not bringing our pets with us. We're not looking for carpet. We're not looking for private apartments. Do you have money or do you not have money? Because if you don't have money, excuse my email, we don't come in here with expectations. Ironically, somebody just asked me a question about school. But anyway, you get what I'm saying? Like, you have to be realistic with yourself. I understand that you want to do these things. You want to bring your pets. You want to have your own space. I wanted all of that too when I first came to Japan. But I had to wake up and smell the coffee and realize that wasn't really an option for me. So anyway, long story short, you need to get $10,000. You need to figure that out. You need to have enough money to survive 6 months, preferably in advance without having any job or anything. If that is not possible, you want to try to get as close to $10,000 as possible and make up the remainder of that by working part-time. Do not be fooled. So if you took my advice and you also got financial aid and you got student loans, keep in mind that almost the entirety of it will be maxed out by you paying your actual tuition, which means that while you might get, $14,000, $20,000 for one semester, you're going to use almost all of that to pay your tuition. And don't think that you can cut corners and not pay your school. I've been there, done that. I'm being totally real with you, and it screwed me over. You have to pay them. If you do not, you will not be allowed to stay in Japan. They will, no longer help you, renew your visa, sponsor you, etc. No, your school cannot physically kick you out of the country, but immigration can. If you don't want to get in trouble with the Japanese police or get a 10-year ban from the country. Because if you thought you were in a rush to come over now, imagine being banned for 10 years. And then even when you can come back, now you basically blackballed yourself, and that's going to be on your record here, which looks horrible. You don't want to do anything crazy and drastic like that. You want to come to Japan the right way and have enough money, even if that means waiting longer. And to be honest, while it is fun to say you went to college in Japan, you're not going to get any type of cookie or brownie points for it. Japanese people actually prefer American schools because it's harder, believe it or not. Beyond just, living here with the $10,000, this is also why you have to prove that you have basically about 30,000 US dollars, because that's really the bare minimum that you need to survive here. you need enough money to live off of for an entire year, because there is no guarantee that you will even get permission to work on your student visa. And even if you do get permission, if you are a good student, you're probably going to find it a little bit difficult to work, max out your hours as a part-time worker, and your company might not even give you the maximum amount of hours that you can work per week. So you might only work 10 to 15 hours. And if you're not a native speaker, you might have difficulty finding private students, or you're going to have to charge very little. And again, no matter what you charge, this is taking up personal time to study and or to physically be in school or hang out with your friends, etc. So really, what are you paying for? Are you paying just to say that your address is in Japan? Because now if all of your time is being used working and working and working, and then you're in school, you're not even really experiencing Japan. So think about these things before you actually come here. And on top of that, like I was saying, you really need to have a better game plan than just saying, I want to come to Japan during this semester. That's nice and all, but you have to do more than just say, okay, I want to be in Japan this semester. Tell me what school I should apply to. It's not really that easy. You have to know what your own budget is and what your own plans are. As I have said before, schools in Japan are no different than how they are in America. It's all for profit. They just want to make money. They know the foreign students aren't going to last long. They know that you're going to go back home. And they know that most of the degrees that they offer here are useless, especially if you don't plan to stay in Japan. If your goal is to go to college as your gateway to get into Japan and then work here, which is basically what I did, then fine. Anything you study and go to school for is okay. But ultimately, being realistic, you really want to choose something that you can get a real degree in, not something that just sounds cute. If it's not possible for you to find a job in America or whatever your home country is, you probably shouldn't be getting a degree here. Because the reality is, you're going to pay a whole lot more for the exact same, if not an even more useless degree from a more useless no-name school in Japan, whereas in America, you can go to a better school that costs less money. You're basically spending like Ivy League type money to go to these no-name schools just because of the school's location. I would not recommend doing that, but at the same time, because obviously the topic of my channel, and I'd be a hypocrite because of what I personally did, I will not tell you to not go to Japan to go to school, because this was my dream. I personally wanted to do it too, but I am reminding you, if you want to do things the smart way, I would not recommend using my last dime to get here. I had a ton of financial help from, my parents, as well as, my friends and family, and even my church. I tried to fundraise money. I didn't reach my actual goal, to be totally honest, but I got thousands of dollars off of that, which really helped me, as well as, my student loans, which helped me out a lot. And even with all of that money that I had, you guys, I lost all of it in 1 year. That's it. Just took 1 year. I used, I think, maybe $40,000 or $50,000 worth of money that was mostly not even my own. Gone that fast. And I wasn't even living any type of lavish lifestyle. I spent my whole first year living at Soccer House. Yet I still used that much money. That was because of my tuition and fees and my transportation, and I did a lot of dumb stuff too, I won't lie. I spent a lot more money on clothes and food than I honestly should have. But once again, I didn't even really travel. I did not leave Tokyo or the Kanto region. I stayed there. I was only there in Yokohama. I didn't go really anywhere else. I went to maybe a couple of neighboring cities, but everything that I did was within the Kanto region. And a lot of the stuff that I even took pictures of, I didn't even pay for it out of my own pocket. My friends actually treated me to a lot of stuff here, as well as my pen pals. So anyway, all I'm trying to say to you guys is, you really want to think out your plans to, study in Japan more. You need to have an actual budget, and you need to actually save money. Just because you fill out an application, just because you're interested in Japan, does not mean that you're going to actually make it here. Everybody says they want to stay here. No foreigner, I don't think, has ever come to Japan and said, oh, I know I'm only going to last 3 months and then I'm going to go home. It happens all the time, though. People come here, they can only afford 1 semester. They think they're going to be able to cover their second semester by working, but it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to have some money to help aid your part-time job. Because keep in mind, Tokyo is way more expensive than the other cities in Japan. While Japan is cheap in comparison to America, keep in mind that you're not going to have time to work full-time because you have to be a student. And legally, you're not allowed to. Now, don't get me wrong. I will not advise you to break the law, but immigration ain't going to really be on your tail and keeping track of how many hours you work. But they do have stings and they can bust you, and someone can, of course, always snitch on you. So you do not want to risk that. I have seen plenty of people in the news, as well as newspapers, etc., that have been caught and that have been deported. I will also be honest with you. There is a racial bias here. Thank God for me, for once, me being black actually has nothing to do with it. It's really weird because now I'm experiencing the privilege side of things. As an American, I do have privilege and I get special treatment. As a young female that's American, as someone that is seen as attractive, I get by with a lot of stuff that I do not see my other Asian counterparts get by with, as well as even white guys, believe it or not. As a black person, I actually have some privilege here. Almost all of the cases that I see of people getting in trouble for, fake sham marriages and things like that, they've almost all been Asian. And I'm like, gee, go figure. I see a lot more white guys here that are clearly married to women that are like 3 times their age, clearly don't have a degree, clearly just met this chick a week ago, got married and got a visa, but nobody's looking into that. Okay. I'm not trying to start a whole little race war with you guys. As I said, I'm admitting my own privilege in this, but I am saying that, once again, you will notice that, white and even black people that are foreigners don't really deal with the same mess that other foreigners do. Now, don't get me wrong, I will be honest too. I don't have a lot of experience with those who are Asian American or, Asian whatever European or American country, but I will say that I do recall even reading an article about a girl that was, Chinese Canadians. She was a Canadian girl that was studying in Japan. And she had a sham marriage that somehow got found out. She was paying somebody off, the guy that she was married to. It got found out, and of course, I'm sure she got fined and deported. That had to have been very embarrassing. And, that can happen to anyone. And you don't want that to happen to you. So don't think that coming over here to have a quick, shotgun wedding type thing. And do you really want to get married to somebody that you don't really love and have sex and kiss? I mean, if you have a sham marriage, you are no different than basically a prostitute, if you will. So if you look down on people like that, then I suggest you shut your mouth then, because you're doing the exact same thing. You're selling yourself, you're selling your body, you're selling your, I don't even know how to explain that. Why would you want to sell I don't even know how to explain that, you guys. Your life, basically, to someone that you don't know and don't really love. So that's between you and God, if that's your goal, to come over here and try to quickly get married. But do keep in mind, immigration is not stupid, especially in Tokyo. They will track you down and they will figure things out. It's very common for people to come here on other visas and then quickly meet someone and find the love of their life and try to get married right away. I have personally gone to school with people that have done this and they've managed to successfully fool immigration, but I do not recommend that you do that. You do not want to get yourself in trouble. Like I said, it's a pattern, it's a trend. People get away with it all the time, but you never know. You might be that one person that does get caught. And it will cost you the ability to live in Japan, possibly forever, if not for at least the next 10 years. But we're not going to get too much into that. All I'm really trying to say is, you need to know what school you really want to go to. You need to have an actual budget. You need to come here with actual money. Do not just expect to be able to work here part-time to make up for everything else. Do also keep in mind that if you want to be really realistic, Tokyo is probably both the best and worst place to go. If you really, really, really are just serious about coming to Japan and you could put your big boy pants on and decide, I can wait on Tokyo, I do not recommend going to Tokyo if you don't have money. If you do have money, even if it's with loans, if you can afford it, then I do recommend Tokyo personally over Osaka, etc. Because I've personally lived in all of the major cities with the exception of, Sapporo and, Hokkaido, but nobody really goes to those places anyway. I've been to all the major cities. I've been to Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo, and I've had places in all of them, as well as Kobe, which is where I'm currently at. But with that said and done, I personally feel the opposite of what most people do. I think the people in Kansai are a lot ruder than those that are in the Kanto region in Tokyo. I would recommend Tokyo a million times over. I think you'll have the most fun there as a foreigner that's brand new to Japan, because it's all the things that you've seen on TV. Whereas the other regions, it's harder on you if you don't know Japanese already. You'll probably feel more isolated. You'll get more stares. I feel like it's more complex for people that are new to the country. If you cannot go to Tokyo for any reason, Osaka is definitely a close second to Tokyo. But again, in my own personal opinion, I do not like the people in Osaka or Kyoto or Kobe. I think they're a lot more rude. Is there more to see here? Yes, most definitely. It's a lot more scenic. It's more of the traditional Japan that I would imagine, whereas Tokyo feels more like I'm in America. It's more like a major city like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles type feel. But once again, just my own 2 cents. But I'm not really talking about the fun side of it. I'm talking about for finances. You will spend a lot less money if you live in southern Japan, and you will also get paid more for your work. In the Tokyo region, they're going to pay you a lot less for any part-time work that you do, as well as full-time work. Most of the people that are working in Tokyo, when they first start off, they're only making about $2,000 a month. Some companies pay as little as $1,500 a month for full-time work. So the higher end in Tokyo is about $2,500. That's like the starting salary if you live in the Kansai region, is $2,500. My current company that I work for, I make $3,200 a month just from that one job. That's not including my other side jobs that I have or my own personal job in which I teach my own private lessons. So I'm making much more than what someone in Tokyo is, and my rent is half of that. I pay less than $400 a month for my rent, whereas in Tokyo you pay double, starting at $800. You really want to make sure that you put together a strong visa application, is what I'm really getting at. So you don't want to try to come over here, as fast as possible and quickly send out a garbage application, because a few things. One, your school is going to reject it because they're not even going to waste their time going to immigration with it when they know that it's not going to get approved because you barely have enough money or it doesn't really look good. You really want to have more than, exactly $30,000, because really the amount they request is less than that. But, this ensures that you have more than enough. I think they really just want like $2,000, basically $2,000 a month, which will, amount to being less than that. But they require you to have $30,000 because they want to ensure that, you're going to surpass whatever requirements that they have for you. However, beyond just that, it goes beyond just you proving how much you have. They want to make sure that your application looks good altogether. So for example, if you do have, that $30,000, but it seems like all of it is really made up, between scholarships and loans, etc., depending on what country you come from, they can still not approve your application because it's not physical cash. I do not know about anybody experiencing this in America, but I do have a friend that is Chinese that tried to study here, and she pretty much used the same method. They did not accept her student loans for God knows what reason. Her school rejected it before they even took it to immigration. So I don't know what that was all about, but I'm just giving you guys an example that, you can end up wasting money. So she paid all of that money for her application fee just for it to go down the drain. Coming to Japan is easy to accomplish. You can easily just spend less than $2,000, get yourself on a one-way flight here, and you're good to go. But what's hard is if you come all the way here, you go broke, you don't have money to make it back home, you lose all of your valuables, all of the things you bought inside your little suitcase, just to say that you studied abroad for one semester. That is beyond stupid, because now that one semester is going to cost you years of paying back student loans, years of recovering from using all of your savings, etc. It's not going to be worth it. You're better off waiting until you've already graduated from school with no debt or very little debt, at least in comparison to Japan, than to try to come to Japan just to say that you've been to Japan. As I already said, they don't even value their own degrees. The only degrees that are valuable here is if you went to like the University of Tokyo. Going to these little no-name schools that have international programs here are garbage unless they're one of those top 3 schools. If you're not going to one of the top 3 here, you're wasting your time, wasting your money. You're better off going to an American university in Japan or going to an American school back at home. It's a waste of money, waste of time to do it here. So if you're, wasting time just sitting on your butt at home, you're not going to school, you're spending all your time working, you're wasting valuable time in which you could be taking classes so that you can actually earn your degree. Why wait until you come to Japan? For those of you that are being smart and that are actually in school right now, whether it's junior college or, state university, that's great. But make sure that you're also working too, because again, you have to actually be saving money. You don't want to have to use entirely just student loans, because again, this isn't free money, you guys. You have to pay it back. And once you actually get to Japan, you won't be able to legally work right away. And just because your friends are doing it doesn't mean that you should. I actually had a professor that was trying to encourage me to work illegally. Do not do it, you guys, because all it takes is for someone to find out, someone to get angry, someone to snitch on you, and you get caught, and you will be in huge trouble. They do not play. And do keep in mind that the police system in Japan is like comparable to like Mexico or something. The cops here, they're nice, but their legal system is very dirty, and you do not have the same freedoms and rights that you do in America if you do get arrested. They do not have all the little nice laws and stuff. I mean, we complain about our police, but it's actually a lot worse in Japan if you do get in legal trouble. They're very, very strict with anything that deals with immigration. Yet they're very lenient with anything that deals with sex or anything that hurts you as a foreigner, like getting hit by a car. But that's all a whole nother story. All I'm trying to say is you want to come to Japan with a plan. You want to come here with money, and you do not want to give a half-ass, not well put together visa application to your school, because that's serious money. You basically just gave them $500 that you just threw down the drain because you were in such a rush to get your application in because you wanted to come here so bad. It's easy to get your foot in the door. Maybe you do get your visa and it does get approved. But if you don't have at least, about $10,000, you're going to run out of money. And you're going to end up, your ass is going to be back on a plane, back home, back in your mama's basement, back to doing nothing. And now you can't even go to school because you screwed things up with financial aid. You screwed things up with your student loans. You have to wake up and smell the coffee. Everything's not anime land and, yellow fever dreams, etc. You have to be real with yourself. So long story short, and I'll make separate videos because it's getting way too long, you need to have at least $10,000 if you want to study in Japan. $10,000 cash. It needs to either be cash or cash in combination with, savings accounts, credit cards of your own. No loans, just your own money. That is not a lot of money. That is basically saving less than $1,000 a month for a year. If you cannot manage to do that, you cannot manage to survive in Japan. Because the reality is, you will probably, just like me, go periods of time being unemployed. You will go a period of time in which you cannot legally work, and you will not have enough time to even work full time, especially if you're going to live in Tokyo. Do also keep in mind that if you want to save money, do not live in Tokyo. It's going to suck. I know you really want to be there. That's where everyone wants to go. But that's the problem. Because everyone wants to go to Tokyo, it has lowered the value of English teachers. There's plenty of jobs there. But now they know that they can get away with, paying you less. They know you're going to quit. They know you're going to go back home. And because of that, they want to make it worth it for themselves. They want to make as much money as possible. They're still charging the same amount, if not more, for their students. But now they're paying their teachers even less. The teachers there are literally getting about $1,000 to $1,500 less a month than what I am, which is crazy. You can get paid as low as $1,200 to $1,500 a month in Tokyo. The high end there is about $2,000 to $2,200. The really high end there is, the $3,000 up range. But on average, teachers in Tokyo are only making $2,000 a month. That's it. Your rent is about half of that. That's crazy, right? Okay, you probably are not going to do very well there if you're a student. It'll help you out, but only in combination, with your other student loans and financial aid. You cannot cover all of your tuition or all of your living expenses by working part-time in Tokyo. You have to be realistic with yourself. You also have to have time to study. You need to have time to study Japanese too, even if you're not taking Japanese at school, which you should be, but you need it in order to live in the real world here. If you're going to spend your whole time speaking in English and never get the real Japan experience. So again, it's entirely up to you. You have to decide what you want to do. But if I were you, you first need to start off by getting that money saved up and put aside. So make some type of plan, make some changes, find some side jobs. I have a whole playlist on how to move to Japan in a year. Maybe you should check that out. I will add more videos to that. I'm really sorry I kind of stopped on that series, but you need to get serious and really save money. You can't just say I want to come to Japan and think your loans are going to carry you, because they're not. And those loans are serious money that you're going to have to pay back. That's a lot. I'm still paying loans right now. You do not want to be like me. If possible, you don't want to use loans at all. It'd be nice if you can pay for it all in cash. But think about it. Why are you paying so much money for the same, if not a worse education, just because of the location of it? Think about that. And keep in mind that in Japan, even Japanese employers, they prefer those that have American degrees over any other degree in the world, including their own. Japanese people love everything that's, the same and alike, everything Japan, except for education. When it comes to education, you will, amaze people and wow them over if they see that your degree is from a foreign country, even if you are a foreigner yourself. So really, you're being really dumb to pay for a degree from a Japanese school just to say that you went to college in Japan. It's nice when you can afford it. If you have not already graduated, I don't recommend going to a Japanese university or even an American university that's in Japan. But at least do that, because if you're going to an American university in Japan, at least you have financial aid and other options to lower the cost of tuition. But the reality is, you guys, it is kind of a waste of money, especially if you don't have it like that. And most people are not good at balancing that out. A lot of these schools here, the students that do come over, they only last for one semester, no more than 1 year. They run out of money, and then they quickly try to have a sham marriage, which most of them do successfully get away with. But eventually they end up going back home anyway, because they get tired of Japan, they get a divorce, life ain't working out for them here, and they realize that they pretty much messed up because now it's hard to find a real job too. So think about that before you come to Japan. This video is getting really long, so I'm going to wrap it up right here, and I'm going to make some other parts to go along with this. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching. Look out for the next parts that will follow. I will create a playlist for you to watch all of these videos on college in Japan. So yeah, if you have any more questions, comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. Other than that, please like, comment, and subscribe. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I have a Snapchat as well. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to look out for the next parts in this series. Bye!